Let's get this party started. Best in
Right
the West,
on.
no, best from Quebec. Joining me today is a fellow Commonwealth devotee and slinger of riffs from all the way from up north in Canada. With impressive collection behind me, we have Eric from Despised Icon. How you going, mate?
Hey, Brady. Thanks for having me.
No, not a problem, not a problem. So how are things going up there with you guys, with everything happening at the moment? You guys have a fair bit on, but most importantly, you've got your latest album coming out soon, Shadow Work.
Yeah, album's coming out in about 10 days, and then we'll be hitting the road a couple days after that, starting November 4th, for a full US tour. So yeah, quite busy around these days.
Excellent, excellent. And what's the overall vibe like within the band at the moment? Like how's everybody sort of feeling? What's the energy like?
Oh, it's at its best, like whenever we're about to release a new album and go out on the road. I mean, everybody's just super excited, it's all positive vibes and fun times waiting for us. So yeah, we're probably putting the final touches on the set list and rehearsing a couple times a week. So yeah, these are just good times for us to be able to be with each other and go at it almost full time, for a couple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Sounds great. Sounds great. And I think that's on that note, I think that's something interesting to note. I think if people were to look you guys up, they might be surprised that you're not exactly spring chickens like in the deathcore scene. You guys have been around for quite a long time. This is being your seventh record, and I believe yourself and Alex um, handle a lot of the production duties on this one, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second time we're all hands on deck for the production. And even myself, I engineered a bit of the recording for guitars and bass. Alex recorded his own vocals in his home studio.
Mm,
Nowadays with computers and softwares and stuff, it gets easier, to handle these tasks. So yeah, so we've been very much autonomous and independent in that sense, which allowed us the freedom to take our time to work on the music and on the songs as well,
mm,
and
mm,
especially during the pandemic, everybody was stuck at home. Just like Australia, New Zealand, Canada were super strict on the lockdowns and on the curfews.
mm,
So we've we've got to spend a lot of time at home and talking through Zoom and doing writing sessions over Zoom and yeah, so yeah, just it was a different vibe, for this album.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, um, how did it feel, I guess, for you guys on the production note? Because the last time beforehand, I mean, in the intervening period, you mentioned doing a lot of the songwriting and stuff at home, during the pandemic and that sort of stuff. How did it feel for you guys writing songs more recently, like on the more towards the latter end of this album? Because it's a totally different context. You're kind of going from normal to lockdown back to quote unquote normal, and this being your second time. Um do you notice anything different in your process this time round between yourself and Alex with production?
Well, it's funny because half of the album was written during the pandemic, and then
Mm,
once we were able to just live normally and hang out and be together, uh, that's where we wrote the second half of the album. Um, and those like those songs we wrote together, we it happened in a short span of time because I don't know, like the pandemic, everything was so slow that I guess our writing process was slow. And
Yeah.
once we got back to normal, everything started to happen really fast, and
Mm,
then we wrote like I don't know 5 or 6 songs in the course of I don't know 2 3 months. We were just so anxious to be together and go at it. So
yeah.
that's how it happened. And then and then Alex took his time and he took like a full year to finish off the lyrics, record the vocal tracks, and then record Steve in the studio, which is the other vocalist. So
Mm,
yeah, it's yeah, we know. I think at this point in our career, we're not rushed or we don't need to follow a certain timeline and have like a new album every 2 or 3 years.
mm.
Just it's gonna be ready when we feel it's ready, and that's the approach we had for this one.
Well, you guys have been forging your own path for quite some time. I mean, just on the note, that you guys have one been around for so long, but two, even things like a lot of your like riff dynamics, and the fact that you've got two vocalists. It's interesting that you guys have been around for as long as you have, and you've kind of helped start, you've helped really push the deathcore genre, for lack of a better word. And yet you're a rarity relatively compared to a lot of other bands when people think of deathcore in the scene. Um, yeah, I just find it interesting that there's a whole scene out there, but there's not many of you guys doing the two vocalist thing or um the general kind of refuge is sort of went in a different direction for a while with deathcore. But if anything, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm feeling like I'm hearing a lot of your guys' influence out there in this scene. So I'm interested in terms of musically in your riff writing. So I'm kind of interested who. So this is a long-winded ramble of a question. Um, with that, I guess I've got a couple of questions around this. Because you guys have been around for a while. Um, First and foremost, who would you say your most recent and maybe more ongoing influences have been for songwriting?
Um, it's funny because I guess as you grow old, you tend to go back to your roots or like revisited like old albums I used to listen to when I was a teenager.
Mm,
Like I have kids, I have teenagers at home, and they are discovering all these albums from the 90s and the early 2000s, and I'm revisiting that music with them. And so it's funny because it's more like a going back in time and listening to the old influences, and but at the same time there are new bands that are doing awesome stuff right now. uh, I've always liked the more like slamier or heavier riff metal, riffy
yeah,
metal, and bands like Peeling Flesh, they're doing great. I love their songs and their music, and same for Kublai Khan. I mean,
yeah.
we toured with them in 2019, and
Mm,
the groove and the rhythmic and I always lean into that type of metal.
mm,
Uh, because when I was, I don't know, 13 or 14 years old, I was into Pantera, and I listened to some of the Kublai Khan stuff, and I hear some Pantera influences in there,
absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but not so much into like what deathcore has become, because even though I can appreciate what bands like I don't know, like um, Lorna Shore does, but that's not the type of metal I listen to, you know, or the
Yeah.
elements they put more up front in their music. Like they're very melodic and super fast, and they have all these orchestration. But
Mm,
and even though they're labeled deathcore, that's not how it sounds to me, you know. Like
mm,
I like a good blend of like straight up death metal and straight up hardcore, you know.
yeah. And I
Like
think that's very evident within your guys' sound too. And I think another thing that I think's ironic is a lot of what people would consider as deathcore. It feels a little bit more amorphous, whereas like I mean, you guys have been. I can hear it in your songwriting, Eric. It's like here's the death metal, here's the hardcore. Like it's very you can see those two influences playing out, and it's that's also something that I think not a lot of these other like deathcore bands actually do as kind of as deliberately as prominently as you guys. You can very clearly tell, oh, there's the death metal bit, there's the hardcore bit sort of with
yeah,
Despised Icon. Is
it's
that
very obvious, you know. We're
yeah. But it works. But is that like intentional from a songwriting standpoint,
well,
or just sort of kind of happens organically?
it happened organically, but it happened a bit more when Alex, one of the vocalists, switched from drums to vocals
Yeah,
because he doesn't do like high pitched screams or guttural growls or anything. You know, he has a more like hardcore vocal. You
yeah,
know, sounds more like I don't know like vocalist like in Hatebreed or Madball or
or
and
agnostic
Steve, he's the
front.
one that
Yeah,
had like this talent for like super low growls and ice creams and high pitches.
mm,
So so yeah, I guess that's one of the reason why it blended so naturally between the hardcore and the death metal elements, and musically as well, you know, because even though I like technical stuff and I write technical parts and more like death metal parts, I've always liked the groove in bands like Sepultura or Pantera when I grew up, and if you revisit albums like Arise or Chaos CD by Sepultura, there are tons of breakdowns in those albums, you
yeah,
know. Even before we knew what a breakdown was, you know.
yeah. It's funny we can play like people use breakdowns as sort of like a gatekeeping thing, and yet you're right. Like I mean. Jungle Rot, Obituary. I'm sure some death metal fans out there are going to say heresy, but hey, there's plenty of breakdowns in old school death metal too. Like they're kind of
Absolutely.
baked into each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Suffocation had some of the
Yep.
craziest breakdowns in their early 91 album, you know.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, so that's on the sort of the musical end of things. Lyrically, shadow work, it's very, I mean, it is what it says, kind of does what it says on the tin in terms of the lyrics. You guys have never been ones to sort of, I guess, be too subtle with your themes. Like it is what it is. Um, but shadow work, you can tell, I mean, very unsurprising to hear half of it was written during the pandemic with a name like shadow work. But what's your sort of your thoughts on the lyrical themes behind the album?
Well, Alex he wrote like 100% of the lyrics,
Mm,
but he always calls me and you know like express ideas about things here and there and you know whenever he writes from the heart and he shares life experiences like he did on this album, it's easy for me to relate to whatever he's writing about, you know. And I think it'll be easy for any of our fans or people out there listening and reading the lyrics to relate to whatever he writes about and So even though it's something very personal that he expressed on these songs,
Mm.
it's very relatable for any human being, you know. As soon as you touch subjects like self-growth and you know emotional pain and subjects like that, it's easy, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's the other sort of almost ironic thing about the album title being Shadow Work is I feel like lyrically you guys have been exploring shadow work the entire time. You know what I mean? A lot of
Yeah. Yeah, album titles like The Healing Process and The Ills of
yeah,
Modern Man and Purgatory and
yeah,
yeah, you're right. It's I guess it's been a recurring theme for us and you know that's just the way we are, you know. We want to share whatever things we go through and we experience and I mean, we're not a political band, we're not a religious band, so I mean,
mm,
there'd be no point for us to write about anything else, you know?
yeah. And from a guitar point of view, from like a riff writing point of view, what sort of like um because it can be very easy to look at say a vocalist job, right? And say, well, yeah, they're getting X, Y, Z out of it, or they're getting an emotional release, blah 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 blah. You can tell from the lyrics, blah blah blah. But I'm interested to hear how that translates to for you, from a guitar point of view. Like, how do you find that playing guitar and Despised Icon itself, like do you find that expressing yourself, even though it's through those riffs, has like a similar benefit, or um, yeah, what do you feel you kind of get out of that songwriting process yourself as a musician?
Well, of course, being able to write music for Despised Icon is a really precious creative outlet for me, you know.
Mm,
Um, uh, and it's I mean, I can say that for metal in general, but it's a genre that you know there are no rules, there are no
yeah.
or it's even though there are gatekeepers out there for genre or subgenres, I have always allowed myself to push the envelope and experiment and try things in this genre. Um,
Mm,
so that's why you'll have the occasional acoustic guitar or classical guitar in there. We've invited a keyboard player from Australia. Her name is Mystique, and she performed on one of the songs.
awesome.
Um, also, for this album, and it's a first for me, but I think half of the songs are in drop tuning, and that's something I never did before. You know, I've always played my guitars in standard tuning, even though we're down tuned low in B. It's always been B standard, and now I
Yeah.
have for the songs in drop A. You know, and that allowed me to. Uh, Create different riffs that I was used to when I'm noodling around with the guitar, you know. Just the fact that I down tuned one string, it like sparked like new ideas and opened up a whole new stream of ideas and yeah, so and sounds and you know textures. I've used the whammy pedal for octaves, like to go like an octave lower or two octaves higher.
Oh, they're fun,
Um,
aren't they? Yeah.
yeah, just like Dimebag used to in the
Mm,
90s with Pantera, you know, and so yeah. I guess all of that freedom the genre gives me just help me to express new ideas and go further in my guitar approach.
that's awesome. Well, it just sounds like it's part of your nature, really, and part of your journey as a musician is, you're one of those guitarists, I think, by the sounds of it, that's not going to really kind of be content with sitting and playing the same sort of riffs? Like it sounds like you're always looking to go forward, and push that envelope. Do you feel like the other thing, I guess, too, is that a lot of this sort of deathcore genre or community or stereotypes kind of sort of formed after you guys? Do you feel like being ahead of that scene has kind of helped you guys to have creative freedom, or is it more just a fact of, well, we don't really care about any of that. Just gonna write whatever, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, 23, 24 years ago when we started out, we didn't really know whatever we were doing at that time would become something bigger and become a subgenre or anything like that, you know. But uh, I guess I understand. I didn't think of it as a thing, and I mean that's kind of cool that it became a thing and that we are considered some of the pioneers in that genre. But it wasn't on purpose, you know?
Yeah.
And still to this day, I mean, I don't I don't necessarily question myself as is this gonna fit in the deathcore genre or style, or is it gonna be rejected by the deathcore community? Or I think it has evolved so much in the last years. Like I mentioned earlier, you listen to bands like Lorna Shore. It sounds completely different from us, you know. So I
Mm,
think there's this freedom and liberty now to come up with your own thing, and yeah. So it's it's very rewarding, you know, and I embrace it today, and I'm flattered that we are considered the kings of deathcore or the pioneers of deathcore or whatever, you know, because we started out as one of the first bands in that type of music many years ago. But
mm.
I don't make a big deal out of it. You know?
Yeah. Um, Fair, absolutely. And on that note as well too, what's kept you guys going as a band? Like obviously you've got a strong sense of motivation and wanting to keep writing and that kind of thing, but you guys have had such a consistent, especially apparently that's another genre trope that's popped up after you guys is lineup consistency is often a challenge in this kind of scene, but and especially post-pandemic. But what's kept you guys together as a band for so long too?
Uh, Well, it's funny because not, I mean, anyone who does some researches about our band will know that we disbanded in 2010. You know,
Mm,
we pulled the plug on the band after the fourth album, and
went on hiatus.
we were well. It wasn't even a hiatus. We were done. You know, like we didn't have
Right,
any
like
plans to
completely
come
done.
back. You know, we moved on with our lives. Like we started
Mm,
families, carers back home and stuff. So when we did these few reunion shows and reunion tours and started to write music for our comeback album, which is Beast, that was one of the main uh, condition, you know, was to stay the same lineup and be together as with the same members we started out in 2022 in 2002, I mean.
mm,
So and that's why we're not a full-time touring band anymore, because it's just too hard to make sure that everyone's available at the same time every year. So we just commit to a handful of shows. We play 25 to 30 shows a year. We free up ourselves for 1 month. It's going to be November of this year, and we're going to go out on tour. And but when we're home, we all live, I don't know, like 30 to 40 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
We rehearse once a week at our drummer's place every week, and to be together and spend time together as friends and as band members, that's what keeps us going. And that's the just the same way when we started out 25 years ago, We're just a bunch of friends gathering in the rehearsal space, drinking beers, telling jokes, and then playing music for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And that's the spirit we wanted when we got back together in 2016. Just friends playing music together, having fun, and then whatever other stuff we're able to do with that, whether it's releasing albums and touring and playing festivals, well, that's just gravy on top of it.
That's just the gravy on the poutine.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a wonderful place to leave it. That's the gravy on the poutine that was this interview. Very very wholesome note. I think a very wholesome way to finish. Very Canadian too. All
Yeah.
buddies, all buds. Well, I'm glad to hear it, man, because the outcome. I've had I say an advanced listen. It's more like 50 to shadow work. Really enjoying it and really looking forward to it. I feel like I'm a little bit too biased because I'm a bit of a fanboy, but I do think that it's gonna receive a good response. Just quickly before you go, have you felt about the response to the singles so far that have been released in
I
terms of
think
public?
they're some of the best responses we've had in a
Yeah,
long time. I mean, Purgatory was great, Beast as well, but for some reason, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the resurgence of deathcore nowadays, but yeah, the response has been overwhelming, and yeah, I can't wait to play these songs live for fans next month.
hell yeah, hell yeah. And any any thoughts, or is it mum's the word hush hush about an Australian tour? We're all clamoring for that.
I know, and like I just keep it's all apologies, because
Yeah, it's easier said than done. Yeah.
yeah, we've been down there for you guys just once in our career. It's been a long time. It's been 15 years. I mean, for God's sake, Diet is Murder was just starting out and opening up for us. And now they're like massive, and so it'd be probably the other way around if we go back to Australia and we could ask them if they would take us on tour for
It
some
probably,
Australian dates.
yeah. Funnily enough, that's probably how it would work out with the
But
promoters.
I'd love
Yeah.
to, and like I said,
Yeah.
since we're not a full-time touring band, it's sometimes it's gut-wrenching because we have to prioritize and make the most of the time we have. But yeah, I'd certainly love to maybe come down there if it's not next year, maybe in a year or 2 years. Maybe combine this with a Western Canada tour, so it's easier to fly out of Vancouver and go to Australia. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's feasible.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, in either case, I'm going to leave you to it because you've got more rock journalists to annoy you. So thank you very much for your time, Eric, and have a great day, man.
Thank you, Brady. You too. Bye
Cheers,
bye.
man. Bye.